Over the past 5 years, I've made it my mission to find the best electric scooters on the market. I've personally tested over 70 models across more than 10,000 miles. Rather than just reading aloud from a spec sheet, I put each scooter through the same test process so I can base my opinions on cold hard performance data. I benchmark the top speed, acceleration, hill climbing, braking, and do not 1 but 3 range tests at different speeds. And maybe most importantly, I commute with every single scooter through the rain and daily use to see how they hold up over time. In this guide, I'll be sharing my list of the best electric scooters across 5 categories. For each scooter, I'll share my performance data, not just inflated marketing numbers. I'll tell you exactly what makes each scooter special, who it's for, and more importantly, who it isn't for. A quick note before we dive in, I've added affiliate links and exclusive discount codes in the description below. If you find this guide helpful, buying through these links directly supports my work at no extra cost to you. Plus, you'll also get the best prices available. Let's start with the best scooters for beginners and those on a budget. So the budget category is arguably the trickiest to navigate. There are just so many options that look like good deals on sites like Amazon, but many with inflated specs and questionable build quality. I've personally gone through more than 25 budget models, and there are definitely a lot of bad ones out there. So I want to highlight 2 models that stand out for me on both value and reliability. And that is the VMAX VX5 Pro GT and the new KQi2 Pro. Both punch well above their price point in terms of build quality, and they both offer good performance. First off, the VMAX VX5 Pro, which is probably the most complete entry-level scooter I've tested to date. It just ticks so many boxes and at a really good price. In my tests, the VX5 Pro reached a top speed of 17.5 miles per hour and delivered a solid 20 miles of real-world range. The acceleration is really good for the price, reaching 15 miles per hour in 6.9 seconds. It also really impressed me on hills. I managed to climb a 17% incline, which is the steepest in my city, and that's something I've only managed on very few budget scooters. The VX5 is also really all-weather friendly. I don't think I've seen an IPX6 rated scooter at this price point before, so it's perfect if you live in a rain-prone area like me. You also get premium features that are quite rare at this price point, such as the turn signals and adjustable ride settings through the app. The braking is super reliable as well. I measured a stopping distance from 15 miles per hour in just 12.2 feet. The new KQi2 Pro is pretty close in terms of performance. It's ever so slightly behind the VX5 Pro on motor performance and range, but still the second best range result I've gotten in comparable scooters. Now, the KQi2 Pro has better performance retention thanks to its 48 volts battery. This just means it'll perform the same motor-wise until the battery is empty, whereas 36 volts models, including the VX5 Pro, can lose a bit of their zing in the lower half of the charge. The 10-inch tires also provide a slightly more comfortable ride, and you just get proven reliability in a model that gets praise from long-term users throughout the community. Both of these scooters have tubeless tires, and I know a lot of beginners are worried about flats, but they're just far safer and more comfortable to ride than solid tires. My recommendation would be to simply get some tire sealant, which is cheap and easy to use, and that will just greatly reduce the chances of flats. So which one should you choose? Well, honestly, you can't go wrong with either. In most cases, I'd say it comes down to which one is cheaper when you're buying. The VX5 is arguably the better pick for most, with more features and better weather resistance. It also has a higher weight limit, so if it's a dead tie price-wise, I'd go for the VMAX. What I love about these 2 scooters is that they are low maintenance and just really well built, which is exactly what you should be looking for in your first scooter. They're the best proof I've seen that you don't have to overspend to get a reliable, comfortable ride. Moving on to commuter scooters, we're stepping up in performance here with speeds between 20 and 25 miles per hour and overall better range, while mostly staying under the $1,000. I've focused on models that balance reliability with real-world performance and comfort. 3 models stand out. That's the Segway 9bot Max G2, the new KQi 300X, and the VMAX VX2 Pro GT. The Segway is hands down the most comfortable electric scooter I've ever tested under $8,000. It's built like a tank and comes with adjustable hydraulic suspension that just works beautifully. In my tests, it delivered nearly 30 miles of real-world range and reached 22.4 miles per hour. The spacious deck and wide handlebars make it feel incredibly stable, and you also get premium features like turn signals and self-healing tires. Now, the downsides are that it's quite heavy, and being a 36 volt system, you will notice a performance drop after about 50% battery, which means if you have to climb steep hills, you may want a different scooter. The KQi300X is in many ways a more capable option. It's lighter than the G2 while still offering excellent comfort. If the G2 is a 10 out of 10 in comfort, this is a solid 9 out of 10. It's more capable on hills, and with a 48-volt system, it maintains consistent performance until the battery is empty. The folding mechanism is also the best I've tested, though the dual disc brakes might need more maintenance than the drums on the other scooters. In my tests, it hit 23.6 miles per hour and delivered about 27 miles of range. And then the VX2 Pro GT is the best value of them all. It outperformed the others in all of my tests basically. It reached a top speed of 23.9 miles per hour and got almost 40 miles of range, and is also typically priced lower than the other two. These are just simply the best numbers I've ever clocked in a commuter scooter under $1,000. The downside is that you don't get suspension, but the tubeless tires provide good cushioning, especially if you run them with sealant at a slightly lower pressure. It's overall just incredibly well built and stable to ride. For those of you in Europe, these three scooters are often speed limited. If you want something that you can ride with the speed unlocked, I highly recommend checking out the Kingsong N14. It's quite close to the 300X performance-wise, and it's overall just a really fun and stable ride. You still get a lot of range, dual suspension, and more than enough motor power to tackle hills. Not to mention, I'm a really big fan of the display. The price is great as well. Just a quick note, if you are on a tighter budget, keep an eye out for the new KQi3 lineup. These models are being phased out for the 300X and 300P, so you can often find them at a really good deal. They're still excellent scooters backed by the same 2-year warranty that New offers on the newer scooters. So which one should you choose? If comfort is your top priority, go for the 9BOT Max G2. If you want the best performance for your money, the VX2 Pro GT is your best bet. And if you want something that strikes a balance between the two, go for the KQi300X. At the end of the day, you can't go wrong with any of these. They are all excellent commuter scooters. If you're after something really lightweight, I recommend either the new KQi Air or the Fluid Mosquito. First off, the KQi Air is in a league of its own. It is pricey, but the carbon fiber frame completely redefines what a lightweight scooter can be. Most other ultralight scooters sacrifice comfort to cut weight, but the Air maintains a spacious design and uses 10-inch tubeless tires. This makes it not just more comfortable, but also safer to ride than solid tire options. In my range tests, I got 24.2 miles, and I then measured the top speed to 20.1 miles per hour. Combined with the ultra-low 26.4 pounds weight, this is the most range-efficient scooter I've ever tested at 0.92 miles per pound. It handles wet weather really well with its IP55 rating. I've ridden it in the rain several times and the traction is just really solid. Now, hill climbing isn't its strongest point, although it did make it up my steepest 17% test hill, but it was really working for it. So if you need hill climbing, the Mosquito may be a better alternative. Now, the Fluid Mosquito takes a completely different approach. Everything is stripped down for maximum portability. It folds down incredibly small with the foldable handlebars and the adjustable stem height, and it's actually more powerful than the Air. The acceleration and hill climbing are notably better, and it hits a higher top speed of 25.6 miles per hour, and the range is still decent at 18.9 miles. However, because they've gone so far with portability in mind, there are trade-offs. First off, the small solid tires and the narrow dimensions just mean that the ride quality isn't that good. It does have suspension, but it really isn't the best, and it doesn't make up for the solid tires, especially not in wet conditions. So even despite having an IPX5 rating, I wouldn't recommend riding this scooter in the rain at all. If you have smooth streets though, the Mosquito will serve you just fine. Bottom line, for most people, I recommend the KQi Air. If it's out of budget or you absolutely need the smaller form factor and extra motor power, then the Fluid Mosquito is the top choice. Now let's move on to the mid-range scooters. We're looking at more capable machines here, better suspension, beefier builds, bigger batteries, and serious hill climbing. These typically run between $1,000 to $2,000. Let's start with the Apollo City 2024. This is hands down the most comfortable scooter I've ever tested under $2,000, and it actually rides better than a lot of the more expensive models that I've tried. The suspension is just next level plush. I've never felt as comfortable going 32 miles per hour as on the City. Apollo has really refined this machine over the years through different iterations. You've got self-healing tires, low-maintenance drum brakes, and some of the smoothest regen braking I've tested. It also has an IP66 weather resistance rating, so it's a true all-season commuter. It is more expensive than the others I'm gonna mention, but it's also a class above in ride quality. Now, if you need something for long-distance commuting, I recommend the VMAX VX4 GT. This thing packs a massive battery, and it shows in my range tests. It's super well designed. VMAX has really paid attention to the small details that elevate the overall experience here. You've got protected turn signals, a really clever display, and very comfortable front suspension. With a 330-pound weight limit, it's also great for heavier riders. Now, this is a single motor scooter and it tops out at about 25 miles per hour, so it's not really an adrenaline ride, but for long trips it's just super reliable and solidly built. The only real drawback to me is the rear folding hook. It's a bit gimmicky to set it right, and you need to apply constant upward force to hold it in place, so that takes off a few points in terms of portability. Now, if you're after serious speed at a low price, the Commuting G4 is where it's at. I have no idea how they've been able to put this much hardware into a scooter under $1,000, but I'm all for it. The initial version had a few problems, but it's been refined to the point where it's just super reliable. It's extremely stable at speed, and the suspension feels really plush. In my tests, I topped out at 42.5 miles per hour and got 28.5 miles of range. Do note that this scooter is the opposite of portable. It's really beefy and sturdy, but also super heavy, and there's no folding hook at the rear, so it's an absolute nightmare to carry this around. Next, we have the Punk Rider Pro, which does a little bit of everything. It's a beautiful machine with really good dual motor performance and good range in a low maintenance package. It's got large self-healing tires and an awesome light setup. The suspension is a bit more stiff and less smooth than on the Apollo City, but you can't fault it for the price. It's just a really good all-arounder. If you want true portable power, I'd go for the Splash Twin Plus or Harley Tiger T8 Pro with pneumatic tires. They are essentially the same scooter, but the Harley is often cheaper. It's notably lighter than the others, and it has foldable handlebars and adjustable stem height. The ride quality isn't up there with the others, but it's really powerful for its size. The battery is a bit smaller, but because the scooter is so lightweight, you can still expect solid range. It does really good on hills, and it's very quick off the mark. To sum up the mid-range scooters, if you want the best in ride quality, go for the Apollo City. If you need maximum range for commuting or a high weight capacity, go for the VX4. If you just want the best value pick, go for the Punk Rider Pro. And if you want the most affordable hybrid scooter you can get from a name brand, get the Commuting G4. And finally, if you need portable power, go for the Splash or the Harley. And now to the Ultra Performers. These models represent the pinnacle of electric scooter engineering and focus mainly on massive batteries and full hydraulic adjustable suspension for off-roading and steering dampers for extreme speeds. Now, I won't even mention portability here because, frankly, none of them are very portable. They're simply not built to be. There are many models to choose from, but I've settled on the three that I find to be the best for their use case. First off, we have the Segway GT2, which is just on the edge of what you'd consider a hybrid scooter, but it's also more affordable than the others. That just makes it an excellent choice if you want to go borderline extreme without spending $4,000. Now, this thing topped out at 41.5 miles per hour and got me 39.4 miles of range. It is hands down one of the best designed scooters I've seen to date. It's not an off-roader, but the low center of gravity and traction control just make it incredibly stable at full speed. And then the dual adjustable suspension is just pretty much as good as it gets. It's super spacious, and the OLED display is my favorite to date. I've just found that everything from the functionality to the aesthetics come together perfectly here. There are alternatives with better specs per dollar, but I have yet to come across anything that feels as refined as the GT2 at this price. Moving on to the king of the streets, the Nami Burn E2 Max, also called the Viper. This is hands down the most incredible street scooter I've ever tested. It's expensive, but if you want the best in road riding, this is it. You've got 8.4 kilowatts of peak power from a 72 volt system with a massive 2,280 watt hours battery, which is also the biggest on this list. I clocked a 61.2 miles per hour top speed and got 59.8 miles of range. The steering damper does a really good job at keeping the ride stable, and it's super easy to dial the suspension down to your weight and preference. It has all the stopping power you need, and there isn't really anything I would change about the Burn E2 Max. It's really just the best you can get for street riding. And lastly, we've got what I think is the ultimate off-road scooter, the Cabo Wolf King GTR. Now this scooter is every bit as mean as it looks. It is the most powerful scooter on the list, with over 13 kilowatts of peak power and a tested top speed of 66 miles per hour. The GTR wins off-road because it has buttery smooth hydraulic suspension with extra long travel and a really high ground clearance, so you don't have to worry about scraping the underside of the deck on obstacles. It also has the smoothest throttle input of them all, which makes it easier to stay responsive and navigate challenging terrain. And then the double stem can just handle an absolute beating, so it's just perfectly designed to ride rough. So the Nami Bernie 2 Max and the Cabo Wolf King GTR are the two holy grails for me. One is clearly better for street riding and the other for off-roading, but if you want something a little less extreme, the GT2 is always there. That marks the end of this guide. Thank you so much for watching. Lastly, I just want to share that I've built the most advanced scooter finder tools over on ERideHero.com. You can compare more than 300 models head-to-head on every spec imaginable, including live pricing, and you can also find the best deals right now based on price history across the last 6 months, so no fake deals with inflated before prices. You can also sign up for a free account to get those deals right in your inbox every week or month, and add price trackers to your favorite scooters to get notified when they drop. If you have any questions, ask away in the comments section. I'm always happy to help. And again, if you want to support my work, consider getting your next scooter through the affiliate links in the description. See you next time.